as the brainwashing and interrogation expert of the US government, and as someone who's trained intelligence agencies, PSYOPs, what's your perspective on the Trump assassination attempt?
We didn't have Twitter 50 years ago. And we didn't have independent people being able to just upload something off of their phone. And it is...
Everyone deserves the fastest, most reliable internet speeds, regardless of where they live. With Spectrum Internet, you can power all of your devices to enjoy streaming, video chatting, and gaming. I rely on Spectrum Internet. You should too.
Switch now.
I've been using Epidemic Sound as my go-to resource for background music and sound effects for the last 6 years, since I grew my YouTube channel from 100 subscribers to nearly 5 million subscribers. And throughout that time, I've always been able to find whatever I needed from their enormous library of over 40,000 music tracks and over 90,000 sound.
It is utterly incredible how much weird stuff is going on. We've got this guy who's able to be on top of this building. He was in a BlackRock financial commercial before. This weird amounts of things that don't really add up. And there's so much going on, and there's so much data now that it's really hard to parse through. And I think people are maybe at an all-time high of not really trusting what the narrative that's being pushed down, like the government says this. And there's so many people that are less trusting now. And I think maybe that happened during the pandemic, during all of that kind of stuff. And it's amazing that I'm not saying I know anything about what happened, but if you just go back like 300 years, like we've been doing crazy, weird stuff like this for a long time. And it's open now, like these documents are open and stuff. And if you just look at all this crazy stuff that's been happening that we've been involved with, like the mind control, the MK Ultra programs, and the weird stuff that we've been doing, it's kind of the mindset of most people that like, oh, we did all of that stuff back then. We have a demonstrated history of doing it. Yes, we acknowledge that all that stuff happened, but yeah, today we don't do that anymore, and everything's on the up and up. And I think that's one of the reasons that some people are being really distrustful, especially there's so much stuff that doesn't really fit together. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Like what?
Just the fact that this guy, and I don't know, I'm not a sniper or anything, but this dude is able to sit on top of this building for like a long time above all of these law enforcement officers who are inside that building. And the Secret Service doesn't do much about it. There's citizens reporting it long before the shooting even started. There's people reporting it to police. And apparently a police officer, I just read this morning in an official report, a police officer came up there, saw him on the roof with the rifle, and he pointed the rifle at the cop, and the cop like jumped off the roof or got injured or something and just got away. And still, like, somehow that report didn't make it up. So there's so many things that are just bizarre about this. And I think once the dust starts to settle, we're going to start getting a clearer narrative of it.
So you don't want to make any predictions on what actually happens because you just don't know, just like any of us.
That's right.
Is there something that you're able to see with your background, 20 years in the military, training all these people and the government? Is there something that you see that maybe we can't?
If any of this happens, I go through a checklist in my head, and I've never said this out loud, but I go through a checklist in my head. Was there motive for a group to have done this? And that's just a yes or no, and I'll let you just answer that in your head if you want. Is there motive for a group to have done this? And then I look at this person that they're announcing as the shooter, and this is for any kind of shooting incident. And I look at the degree of suggestibility. How suggestible is that person? And could they have been made to do this? And that's just a yes or no. I'm not saying that anybody was, but I'm always thinking this way of like, maybe something else is going on. But I don't want to be the guy saying, we need to always question the government. They're always lying to us. I'm not that guy at all. But I always think that way of, I train PSYOPs and I train these people who do these kinds of things in other countries. They overthrow governments and they overthrow leaders. And I'm always looking at it from that perspective. Is there something going on? And there's a process that that PSYOPs uses, that our government uses in other countries to overthrow leaders. And just looking at that, which is open information online, there's a lot of strangely similar stuff going on here. I'm not an expert on politics or anything like that, and I'm not saying anything about what's going on definitively, but this is bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
What makes you think it's bizarre? Just the lack of performance by the Secret Service?
Yeah, that was just, Joe Rogan said this very recently. He had a guest on. He said this episode, or this season of USA is absolutely crazy. Like, all of the things that lined up for this entire event looked like it was written for some kind of a TV show. Him standing up after him, barely getting killed, this shooter being in a BlackRock commercial, being on the roof for so long and no one does anything about it. It's like an episode of 24 is what it seems like. It seems like it was written out. It's just bizarre, weird.
So what are the things? So the fact that he was in the commercial, that he was on the roof for so long, that nobody intervened. Any other things that made you go, something's fishy here?
For the record, I haven't investigated this whole thing. But all of those things just lining up, and this guy, his parents reported him missing, and from what I can see, he would have had a kill shot if President Trump didn't turn his head. It's just unbelievable synchronicity of all of these weird things, all these coincidences starting to happen, all kind of piling up. But I don't want anybody to think I'm some expert in this stuff. Mm-hmm. I just personally think it's bizarre, and I don't claim to know anything about what's going on, like have some kind of solution or answer about it. But it just has so many inconsistencies and so many weird things going on.
Mm-hmm. On your channel, on one of your channels, you analyzed what was going on in the crowd with your fellow experts. What did you see there?
Yeah, this is on the Behavior Panel channel. So if you look at the people in the crowd, what we really tried to do there was to show people how, if you interviewed people before they walk into an event and say, if a shooting starts happening, what would you do? And they all took a survey. Like, less than 1% of those people would be accurate about what they would do when bullets start coming downrange at them. And you really get to see that when somebody's in fight or flight. You can look around that crowd of people and see people do what's called herd checking, or what I call herd checking. It's the same thing that a group of deer do. It's the same thing a group of antelope do when they're out. One deer sees something, and he's like, huh? And the head comes up, and then all the other deer follow suit, they're like, huh? And they all kind of look at each other like, is someone supposed to run? And they kind of look at each other for cues. And people think like, I'm gonna do something different. If you haven't been like through 1,000 hours of combat training and all that kind of stuff, it's almost impossible to override 1,000,000 years of evolution with some affirmations, or I'm going to watch a few YouTube videos, and that's going to override 1,000,000 years of us evolving to look at each other and to look at other members of our tribe for what to do. And there's so many experiments that cover this. The most famous one is this guy Solomon Asch, and this was in the 60s. He presented these groups of lines to a bunch of people, and he said, which line on the left is equal to a line on the right? Is it A, B, or C? And all of these people at the table, except for one, were in on it, right? Have you seen this?
I've heard about this. This is hilarious.
And all of these people on the table, except for this one guy who's the actual volunteer, they all pick the one that's just obviously wrong. Obviously wrong. And the person at the end of the table picks the one that's wrong. He goes along with the crowd because he's doing what everybody's doing. So we're hardwired to do what the people around us are doing. It is built into us, and it's not something we can like meditate our way out of. Like, it is hardwired into our bodies, and that's exactly what you see in that crowd when people are just, I don't know what's going on. And when you hear popping, like you hear people describe it as popping, the brain, as soon as there's something unknown going on, the moment we're exposed to novelty, and this is a lot of what I teach in persuasion and influence, when we're exposed to something new and unknown, we have to go backwards and say, what is this like? Where have I heard something like this before? There's a lot of people around, there's popping noises, fireworks. You notice a lot of people in the crowd are looking up in the sky. And you're like, why are they doing that? That's called a contextual reaction. So I have some kind of a reaction, like I've experienced fireworks before, this is very similar to that, and your body runs the little, I'm at a fireworks show kind of a program, and then realizes there's an emergency, and then says, I need to check what other people are doing. Am I doing the right thing? Because if I break from the crowd, and I'm the first one to run from the crowd, that goes back to that experiment. I'm the first one to go against what everybody else is doing. So we are hardwired not to go against the crowd.
Upset stomach,
That's fucking
indigestion,
crazy.
IBS, 6 digestive symptoms, the power of nature.
Wait, we're in the Mayor House commercial. Want to skip it?
In Atlantean times, we knew that everything was mine.
The father was not Homo sapien.
Anything else you noticed in that behavior that made you go, this is fascinating, this is interesting?
Not much. I mean, it looked pretty normal, like a normal event where there's an emergency or a catastrophe. The way that people reacted, especially behind Donald Trump when he was on stage, 90% of those people realized there was an emergency and instantly looked to him for what to do. And the moment he ducks, you can see everyone else copy him exactly. And that was just fascinating to me, just watching this kind of crowd behavior. And as a behavior profiler, that's one of the things we look for. Like, is something up? Okay, I'm just going to look for like what's not in place.
And we look to the person who we believe has the highest authority, which in this case was Trump.
Yes.
In their eyes.
I will say, in an emergency, we will look to the person who is most easily followable, not necessarily an authority. It could be some total dipshit. But if he stands up and he's yelling louder than everybody, he has very clear body language, that is the most followable person. So we'll go along with that. And that's a quote from my friend Mark Bowden, who talks about this kind of natural instinctive behavior a whole lot. He's on the behavior panel with me.
So before I actually have a question about the whole idea of authority and how to establish it. Before we get into that, government brainwashing expert, training the intelligence agencies, what does that mean? What do you do? How do you explain it to someone who's walking down the street?
I never say brainwashing expert to a stranger.
It's not on your dating profile?
No.
You were on Tinder?
No.
Okay.
And if I'm next to somebody on a plane that I don't want to talk to, I'll just say I teach psychology, and they'll be like, oh, okay. But what I say is that I teach these people how to do influence and persuasion, and I teach them how to master these three things that are the key to success as an interrogator, as a lawyer trying to win a trial or pick a jury, as a leader in a company, as a CEO, as a mom or a dad trying to raise good kids. This is three elements of self-mastery, number one, most important. How much self-mastery does that person have? Observation. Can the person read the room and read the person that they're talking to? And communication. Can you communicate persuasively? Can you talk in a way that makes other people captivated, where you can both capture a person's focus and then lead a person's focus? And that's the whole genuine goal of what persuasion and influence is. So that's kind of what I teach. I teach people behavioral psychology in a way that they apply that psychology to their mission parameters. Like, that book right there can be applied to anybody out there who's trying to do anything. So I explain it as I teach interrogation, but it's not interrogation, it's just human to human skills is all that is. When somebody says I'm in like B2B, I sell B2B, there's no business that ever bought anything. It's a human being that's making a decision. So if you're a parent or a leader or whatever, you're in H to H sales. Even if you're not selling, you're in human to human sales. So that's what everything is. Whether you're an intelligence operative talking somebody into committing treason, spying for the United States in another country, you're interrogating a spy somewhere, or you're like raising a difficult 8-year-old, you're still in the same line of work. You're in H-to-H sales.
And you're not able to talk about specific instances, or
No.
even if I had a lot of authority and a lot of persuasion magic.
If there were like 12
Away.
podcasters in here with lots of authority, and they all said I should do it, I would probably have to just go with it.
If I had more subscribers.
Yeah. I think you're at 650 now.
Yeah,
You gotta be at least a mil.
Okay. Perfect. So, okay, looking at what you're teaching, what you've studied for so many years, and what you were the number one expert at. Going back to politics, I don't want to stay there, but how do you see this currently play out with Trump versus Biden? When you look at their body language, how they hold themselves, how followable they are, what triggers they use, or what do you see play out there?
I think both sides have used a propaganda thing that was invented by this guy named Edward Bernays, whose real uncle, his actual uncle, was Sigmund Freud.
Okay, not like Andrew Huberman is not actually my uncle.
Yeah.
People believe it because it's as a joke.
I did ask you that off the air before we were recording.
Yes, is he your uncle? That's so funny. Khalil did that too. It's so funny. He's my soon-to-be uncle. I will get him to adopt me. So Sigmund Freud is the uncle of
Edward Bernays, who invented propaganda. He was like the guy. And he wrote a book about it called Propaganda. And he wrote a second book called Crystallizing Public Opinion. And in these books, he talks about it's one thing to get somebody to adopt an idea. It's a whole separate thing to get someone to adopt an identity. And if I can make you say, I am, instead of I think, then I can get you to do whatever you want, whatever I want you to do. Because if it's wrapped up in your identity, you have tons of mental resistance to doing something outside of that identity. So this is far left and far right. So if I get your identity involved, you have cognitive dissonance. And this is a word that we use to talk about stress, when something, I believe, disagrees with something outside here. So if somebody says, well, you're this and this, so naturally you would do X. You can get someone to do just about anything if you do it in terms of identity instead of ideas. And the trouble is, most people out there teaching persuasion or influence, sales, marketing, copywriting, branding, whatever, they don't teach identity. Like, how do I get someone to identify? Like, if you have a hardcore Apple person and their office gives them a ThinkPad or something, and you see these people in an airport, you'll see that they put an Apple sticker on it, or they make sure that people know I'm part of this Apple community. So Apple is great with this identity stuff. And Simon Sinek said this so well. And he said, if Nike designed a hotel, you could instantaneously picture what it looked like because they have you at identity. But if Marriott hotels started designing tennis shoes, you have no idea what that would look like because there's no identity associated with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So how did Trump and Biden apply this? Is it by, what's the identity that they're going for? I guess just left and right, Republican, Democrat?
Yes, so identity always starts with making the person able to feel superior to the other people just by saying, I am on this side. Therefore, I am automatically, I don't have to read a book. I don't have to listen to 50 podcasts. I don't have to go to any courses. I can automatically feel smarter and better than the other people. And the second stage of that is getting them to adopt a sense of us versus them. And getting the us versus them mentality is critical, even if you're doing marketing or copywriting. Just saying, in just a regular sales page, let's say we're selling that book. Like, there's so many people that believe X, and I know that you're not one of them. You've seen that on pages before.
Mm-hmm.
That's instantly, and you always see it at the top of the page, because getting someone into an us versus them mentality automatically makes them feel like I am inside of a tiny tribe right here, and I'm going to do what the tribe does. So we're starting to get the identity just with that. I'm going to get them to agree to an us versus them frame of mind.
Mm-hmm.
With so many choices on Booking.com, there are so many Tina Feys I could be. So I hired body doubles.
Indoorsy Tina loves a deluxe suite. Booking.com, yeah. Spectrum Internet offers the fastest speeds in more neighborhoods than any other provider. With Spectrum Internet, you can power all of your devices with the most reliable internet speeds.
Get Spectrum Internet for $39.99 a month. Save with a 2-year price guarantee when you level up your speed.
Mm-hmm. So, what other levers do you see that they're pulling that get them ahead of the other candidate? Who's currently doing it better?
It's a toss-up. I think both of them are using, if we just, you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
We have like absolute survival, then we have shelter, safety, and stuff above that. If I want you to vote for me, I'm just going to, when you think about this other person, you're going to think about a threat to the lower parts of your Maslow's pyramid.
Mm.
So it's twofold. The first one is, if you vote for this guy, this horrible crap is going to happen. Like, your life is going to be over as you know it. And that's the beginning, where I threaten a lower level of Maslow's pyramid. And you've been following our party, red or blue, whatever, for a long time. And the one thing you know is that we stand firm when we say, this is what we believe. Now I'm triggering ego and identity. Now I'm up at the very top, this little confidence, self-esteem, self-actualization part. So if you look at every presidential statement through just the lens of just a basic Maslow's pyramid, you can see where all those statements are designed to hit. Are they hitting me in identity, self-esteem, self-actualization? Somebody saying, we're going to bring this country up and we're going to do all this stuff to where you can finally break through this glass ceiling above you that probably doesn't exist, but they create that glass ceiling. And then if you vote for the other guy, if the other guy wins, this is going to happen, driving you back down to the bottom.
It's very primal, and it's funny how easily manipulated we are.
Oh yeah. So that was the biggest, if I can interrupt right there, that's the biggest mind-blowing discovery of my entire life was, I always assumed we have some kind of a firewall. Like, there's some kind of an antivirus program that if some really bad stuff is going to go in there, my brain's going to say, whoa, Chase, this is a bad idea, dude. And then you start seeing small things like a super intelligent normal person gets talked into joining a cult. So in going through all of my research, I spent time with cult recruiters. I watched them go through this process. I spent time with recruiters who taught people into doing adult films out in San Bernardino, California. And how quickly they can talk someone who's a normal person, I would say normal with big quotes around it, an average person, into doing something like an adult movie or something like that. And all of them have this weird thing in common to where they know these little loopholes in the human brain to where there is no firewall. And if you just do the right things in the right steps and you understand who you're talking to, and you have confidence and authority and all that stuff, you can get somebody to almost do anything. And then after this, I start taking psychology. I'm at Hawaii Pacific University at this point. And I took the psychology class, and I learned about this thing called the Milgram experiment, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. I'll give you a quick recap. And if you have an editing team, you should put some like replays over this. If that doesn't happen, I apologize. But so I'll give you a quick recap. It's I think 1972. We're at the Yale University in this big brick building called Lindsay Chapman Hall, and they run this ad in the paper. It says, "We're doing a study on learning. Come participate in this ad, and we'll give you like a free sandwich or a lunch voucher or something." So these regular civilians line up. These are not college students, and they're told, like, if this person gets a wrong answer on the test, this dude is on the other side of this wall. You've already met him, but he's locked in this room right beside you. If he gets a wrong answer on this little test, you hit this button and deliver a shock. If he gets another one, you drag this little voltage thing to the right and hit the button again, shock him again, and keep going and keep going. So throughout this whole time, people are screaming through the wall. They can hear this guy screaming. And all there is just a guy behind them at a desk in a lab coat. No one's got a gun to his head. So they get up to 200 volts. They get up to 300, 500, and I think over maybe 450 or something like that. There's a button that says XXX, danger, severe shock. And by this point, the guy in the room is not making any more sound, and he's not answering questions anymore.
It's playing dead.
Yeah. And these people, they keep going. And this guy in the lab coat's like, well, any non-answer should be treated as an incorrect answer, so increase the voltage and go again, please. The experiment must continue. It's important that you continue for the experiment. And they go up. And before this experiment took place, these psychologists got together and psychiatrists and said, how many people are going to go through with this?
They predicted it. They made a
hypothesis. And they said, well, anybody who would do this, it's got to be sadistic to begin with. Maybe there's some psychopathy going on. We predict 0.1%. I'm estimating, but that's about what it was, less than 1%. And 0.1 will go all the way to XXX, danger, severe shock. And 67% went that far. 67%. And 200, 250 is enough to kill you. 100% went to that level.
Everyone.
100%. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe it's because of the lab. Maybe they knew it was safe, so they replicated it in the basements of apartment buildings, and they replicated the experiment again with women and men and people of different IQs, different backgrounds.
In prisons.
In prisons, yeah. And it got the same results. And it's not, and when I talk to sales teams, I say, what will be harder, selling a car or talking a random stranger into committing murder? And you only have 40 minutes to do either one. They're like, oh, selling a car is a lot easier. I'm like, okay, you're worried about sales scripts. Show me the sales scripts in the Milgram experiment. Where's the scripts? There are no scripts. There's no magic words. There's not hypnosis going on. There's not some NLP technique that somebody's using. Which is why I think authority and presenting a perception of authority gives people a sense of safety and a sense of agency. Like I'm an agent on behalf of this person in authority, which is exactly what we saw with Trump when he was shot at. And when we are in the presence of somebody with authority, we go a long way and kind of do whatever. And there's no secret script. So I would argue that if you can make a person feel like a person the Milgram experiment felt, and you have all the linguistics and language, and you have the charisma on top of that, and you can read them, and you know exactly what they need to hear, you have an admin password to human beings.
You're like a human hacker. So I think the lab coat sales are going up right now. Everyone's like, okay, I just need a lab coat. Yeah, I'll make more money in my business. Would you say that's the number one thing to hack a human being, is authority?
Authority is number one, yes.
Why?
If we go back like 200,000 years ago, we faced immediate danger most often when we disobeyed the tribal authority people. So if I just want to influence a person's mammalian brain, and just as an experiment, when I talk about this, I just want you to think about dog training. How do I train a dog, okay? I just want you to think, this isn't human, I'm just talking about a dog. Can you train a dog if the dog's not focused on you?
But he's not focused on you? No.
No. So, number one, focus. If you're letting the dog be in charge, can you train it? Okay, so number two is authority. If the dog sees itself as an outcast and not part of your family, and has to live outside and is not ever invited into any social environment, will the dog attach to your family? No. So tribe. Tribe is next. And if you don't repeat these things to where the dog memorizes them and experiences pleasure from doing what you're training the dog to do, will they repeat the action? No. And that's emotion. So those four things are what need to be triggered for a human being's mammalian brain to become compliant. So when we're talking about the lower area of our brain, we have the limbic system and all the way back to kind of the brainstem. These are what make us compliant as a mammal.
What are they again?
Focus, authority, tribe, and emotion, in that order. So if you just look at the Milgram experiment, I told you about focus, novelty manufacturers focus. When we're around something new, or somebody says something new to us that we haven't heard before, that we didn't expect, our brain says focus. Our ancestors, when they're walking by a bush and they hear a stick snap, they have 100% of their focus in it. They're not thinking about their tribe, their kids, no matter what's going on. They're just focused on the novelty. And is it a rabbit that I can eat, or is it a tiger that's going to eat me? So when we hear novelty, our brain goes to focus. And the moment our brain goes to focus, it goes to, is that a potential threat or is it potential value? Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
So in the Milgram experiment, if we just go back to that for 1 second, if I'm talking too much, I want you to stop me.
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. This is money.
So in the Milgram experiment, let's say Leon's a volunteer for the Milgram experiment. You show up, you answer a newspaper ad you've never answered. You show up to a building you've never been in. You meet a person that you've never met, in a room that you've never been in before, sitting in front of a shop machine that you've never seen, administering a test you've never heard of in your life, hearing screams from behind a wall, an experience which hopefully you've never gone through before. Every single part of that experiment was novelty that generated focus. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So they never talk about this. They never talked about this novelty being a prerequisite for authority to really take hold. So the novelty made focus, and focus is the gateway that opens up for authority.
Mm-hmm.
Once authority opens up, then we have tribe.
The novelty thing and the focus also reminds me of just interrupting someone's pattern.
Yeah.
When they're in an autopilot and just grabbing their attention, whether it's on social media or it's in person, or when you're trying to influence someone and they're in a loop and they're doing the same old habits or patterns, and you just gotta demand focus
Yeah.
if you want to influence them by interrupting their pattern.
Yeah, like somebody's complaining and all of a sudden really loudly you're like, hey, do you like pineapples on pizza? Like just weird, like they have no ability to predict what you're gonna say. So novelty is in focus. I would just say focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. Like, can you generate enough focus? And if you can, then you need the authority piece. And that you don't have to be an authority, it's the perception of authority. You're talking about lab coats. Just going on Amazon and buying a $3 orange reflective vest and like a walkie-talkie will do just about the same. And they do these experiments. One of them was done by Dr. Philip Zimbardo. He has a YouTube channel called the Heroic Imagination Project, which shows you all of these cognitive biases in action. They go test it out with cameras and stuff. Then he encourages you to say, how would you act? Would you fall victim to X, Y, and Z? So it's such a great channel. I can't recommend it enough. And Philip Zimbardo is also the doctor who ran the Stanford Prison Experiment, which you referenced earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a YouTube series as well, or a YouTube genre, you could say, where they just carry a ladder into a place to get in for free.
Yeah.
When you carry a ladder with enough certainty, you can just walk into any zoo or movie theater because you're probably there for a reason, and no one's going to interrupt you there. So,
and we tested this. I was at the Human Hacking Convention back in the day, and if you go to Office Depot first, and they sell like these carbon copy forms that you can just pick up, like a return slips and stuff, and you pick up a work order. They have a blank just work order form, and you pick one of those up and just fill it out with the building name that you want to get into. It 10x's your ability to get into a building.
Yeah, I don't question it. There's a YouTuber who snuck into the like a security conference, which is funny because it's like there's like a security there, and his name badge said Rob Banks. Max Fosh is the creator. So authority, just asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Not that I'm interested in this myself. How would one develop authority to influence people and manipulate them and do whatever you want?
Authority has 5 components. When it comes to like who and what.
I don't want to know, but this is just my friend who asked about this. So.
Yeah. We'll tell him I said hello. And so when we teach like what authority actually means, we teach that it has 5 components. And authority is comprised of confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment. And I have a rating system that will help you rate yourself from 1 to 5 on all of those characteristics. I'll give it to you that you can put in the show notes or the description if you want to.
Mm-hmm. And this is a rating system you actually use for training.
Jason Bourne dudes. Yeah.
What do they need that for?
They are, if you're looking at this intelligence kind of guy, they need to have this authority because part of their job is either interrogating people, which requires a tremendous amount of authority, or talking people into doing stuff that may not be in their best interest.
For example?
Providing intelligence against their own country. You have to talk them into doing this, which the side note of that is, I need you to face the death penalty potentially for doing what you're going to do for me, which is a big deal. And if we get them leveled up, and this is authority, it's called the authority inventory, and it's 8 or 9 pages long. But we take everyone that I work with, whether they're government, police, Army PSYOPs operatives, all of them have to go through this authority assessment. And what this assessment does is it shows you where any of the weak spots are, like where are your highs and your lows. And if you just bring that low up, you do more than anything of like, well, I need to work on my confidence. Well, that might be a 4, but your discipline might be a 2. And if you and I, we've both been at a party, a wedding or something where we put a suit on and all that. And back home, there's like a 4-foot pile of laundry and our bathroom counter's just covered in shit. And there's like a part of our brain that reminds us like, I am not portraying myself accurately. I'm trying to portray a different image than who I am. And that level of cognitive dissonance causes people not to see you as an authority figure. And that's just the discipline side of that.
So, confidence, discipline,
Leadership.
gratitude, and enjoyment.
Yeah.
These 5 things. So what I'm hearing is, even the small things that we do at home, the credit card payment that we're late on, even that we carry with us into everyday interactions.
Yeah.
And that's noticeable to people.
Yeah. So when it comes to off camera, like who am I off camera? There's 5 more elements to this, which is how do I manage my environment, which is like, do I have French fries under my driver's seat that have been there for 8 months? My time, my appearance, like one question that we have in the appearance assessment, and this authority thing assesses all of this, appearance would be, how would a stranger rate my diet on a 1 to 10 if they just looked at me across a room?
Just based on how I look.
Just based on how I look, yeah. How would they rate my diet and my lifestyle? So it's appearance, social, and financial. So your social skills and how do you manage your money. So just like what you said, these unpaid bills, that tends to leak out through our body.
I guess these are all part of discipline.
These are all part of the authority.
Mm-hmm. And one of the components of authority is discipline.
Yeah.
So for me, the way I categorize that is all underneath that discipline piece and self-mastery, which you mentioned.
Yeah, and the first video of yours that I ever watched, probably before you saw any of me, was a dopamine detox video that you did. You were talking about discipline a lot. And I want to give you a hack that maybe you can use and try it out. How does reading all this research and stuff on dopamine detox translate to your mammalian brain? Because your mammalian brain does not speak English at all. It cannot speak a language. So when I'm training operatives or clients, just one-on-one clients, I'm always thinking of how could I make this person understand this at a mammalian level? How could I teach this to a dog? So how would I make discipline important to a dog? And in our mammalian brain, the one thing that we really need to think about is imagery. We're visual creatures. We don't have a relationship with our future self. And the way that I define discipline is my ability to prioritize my future self ahead of my present self. So future me is more important than me right now. So I'm always, if you have discipline, you're looking backwards with gratitude, you're looking forwards with concern. So how do I get my brain to start understanding that concept? And what I will do with these clients is, there's an app, I can't remember the name of it. There's an app on your phone that can make you look like 90 years old. Have you seen these things? That can age your face. They'll kind of make you a little bald and wrinkly. And so I'll have them use this app, print that out, and hang it in like 10 places in your house, so that every single day you're developing a relationship with this older version of yourself. And what do you do after like 1,000 repetitions? You're shopping for like a Honda Accord, and you finally buy a Honda Accord, and what happens? Like, they're everywhere. But you didn't tell your brain to look for those cars. Your brain learned it through repetition and exposure, so that you're doing the exact same thing, except on purpose and not on accident. The Honda Accord thing is an accident. The hanging old version me, pictures all over the place, is definitely on purpose. So we're using the mammalian brain systems. This is the VTA for your Uncle Huberman, the ventral tegmental area, which goes into this like reticular formation that helps us to recognize things that the brain says, hey, Leon thinks that thing is important because he's been showing it to me a lot. Not talking, he's been showing it to me a lot, so I'm gonna go look for it. That's when we recognize cars, because of our visual cues and repetition. So that helps us to develop a relationship with our future self. That was a humongous tangent that I just went off on. So
That's interesting. I want to put a pin in that, because that sounds like brainwashing yourself,
yeah,
right? It also reminds me of vision boards and all that stuff that a lot of people, they get flag focused, they think it's boo-boo, but there's something to it. I believe in it. Same thing as visualization. So I want to put a pin in that, and let's revisit that. So the 5 components: confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment.
Yeah.
How would one go about increasing that, each of them, to increase authority and therefore influence and our, I guess, effectiveness in social situations? So let's start with confidence.
If I was to sum up confidence in like one sentence that no one's ever heard, but that makes the most amount of sense, is a willingness to be socially injured. Just a full openness to social injury.
Vulnerability.
Yeah. To where I'm no longer really concerned with that level of thing. And the way that I describe confidence is, let's say that the average person makes, I don't know, 60K a year. And if that person were to walk into like a super expensive, like a department store or something, like Hermes, I think is super crazy expensive. If they walked into a Hermes, they're gonna see maybe their cheapest bag, I'm guessing, is like 14 grand, 15 grand. They're gonna walk in there and think that right as they walk in, they're gonna think they're being judged. And they've proven this, that even a neutral facial expression walking into that store will look judgmental. Just someone looking like this will look like, oh, that bitch is judging me. So, so it feels judgmental. And then they walk in, they look at the price, they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They're looking at all these price tags. And then an employee comes over and says, oh, hey, can I help you find anything? You're like, no, I'm fine. Then you're thinking like, oh, she knows. She can tell. She knows I can't afford anything. She's a bitch. I bet you majored in art history. Then you're like going in all this crazy stuff in your head. And then you take the same person, let's say I talk to them beforehand, and I give them my company platinum card. I hand it to them and say, hey, go down to the Hermes store, please, do me a favor. I have a client coming into town. I want you to buy the nicest briefcase that they have. I don't care how much it is. Just swipe the card, give me the nicest briefcase. It's the same person, wearing the same clothing, with the same haircut, no extra hair gel, no different makeup, nothing's different. And they walk in there way different. Their posture is different. They make better eye contact. The employee comes up to them and they don't see judgment. They're like, yeah, actually help me find the briefcase. I want like the best briefcase you've got. And they're very comfortable. And the only thing that changed is that platinum card, which nobody can see that. Those employees don't know that it's sitting there in that person's pocket. So what confidence really is assigning ourselves a role The only thing that changed was a role, and the role changed something called permission.
So it's not actually the money that's on the surface. What's underneath that is what matters, which can be applied to anything, which is just permission.
Yeah, permission. Everything with confidence is about permission.
Meaning, am I allowed to be here? Am I allowed to act this way?
Right. Because that's our fear. Like we talked about earlier, I'm gonna get judged by the tribe if I act in a way that I'm not supposed to act. I'm gonna get punished.
Is there an authority here that will punish me for this behavior?
Right.
Interesting.
Right. So now if you can imagine 99.9% of the world feels this way, except for guys like the guy in Catch Me If You Can, if you remember that movie. Total confidence, zero competence. Like he could not have flown the plane. Like everyone would have died. But he had absolute confidence, and no one gave him permission. He felt it himself, and he enjoyed a life that was different than other people. He enjoyed a completely different life because here's the reason why. The moment he walks up to that ticket counter dressed as this airline pilot, and he's super confident.
And he's not a pilot for anyone who hasn't seen the movie.
Faking it. It's all pretend. So he walks up to this airline counter, mega confident, but how do most people's brains work? Internally, without knowing it, their brain is saying, he would not ever act that way unless he'd been acting this way for a very long time. So our confident behavior carries the weight of the approval of 10,000 people.
10,000 people we've encountered before?
Yeah, so that person assumes you've always acted this way, and thousands of people have reacted to you based on how you're acting right now. So it's not just you and them. Their brain automatically assumes 10,000 people approve of your behavior. So if you act insecure, they think 10,000 people have treated this person like they're insecure before. You're carrying the weight of an entire tribe based on how you act. He walked up there, and those people internally said, no one is going to act like this unless they've always been this way.
Gaming is all about senses. How it looks. How it feels.
So the way that we show up trains people on how they should treat us, because that means that we've been treated this way for a long time before.
Yeah. And it's our level of permission. I want you to always think of confidence as a transfer of permission. I have unlimited permission to act this way. I'm giving you permission as well. So true confidence should always be contagious. So for anybody watching, if you've been around somebody that's been confident before and they made you feel small, that was not confidence. I would venture to say. It's not confidence. And if we have somebody faking confidence, like a super posturing kind of person, that makes other people feel small, and it's rooted in insecurity. And then the opposite of that is, I'm going to shrink myself to make people around me feel good.
It's the opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah. And I'm going to shrink, or I'm going to blow myself up in a balloon. And they're both rooted in the exact same insecurity of, I am not enough. I don't have permission. So I'm going to inflate or deflate based on what's going on. And if have you been around somebody who has some crippling social anxiety before? I'm sure. It doesn't make you more comfortable. It makes it more awkward. So, but in that person's unconscious or their subconscious mind, they're saying, if I can kind of go with the flow a little bit more, I can kind of take up a little less space, let them make the decisions, everything's going to be okay. It's the opposite. That's why true confidence is contagious, because I'm helping other people just to open up to be who they are.
So the different sides of the spectrum is deflate, inflate, and the answer is in the middle?
Yes.
Meaning composure.
Yeah. And oftentimes I'll call that collapse and posturing. Well, on the right would be posturing for your viewers. This would be collapse. And kind of like a pendulum, where in the middle we have composure.
And that's true core confidence that's contagious.
Yeah.
What's the difference between these two, the two extremes on the outside and the one in the middle?
The difference is how much not enough am I? And that's the first thing I see in other people as a behavior profiler. How much do they feel like they're not enough based on what they're doing, how they're acting, what they're wearing, all of this stuff? They feel like they're not enough. And I never view that as judgment. I just view that as that's going to be an obstacle to our communication. But the composure, if you look at any of the extremes of composure, the collapsed posturing, they're both rooted in insecurity, and they're both being dishonest about their true intention. They're both being a little bit dishonest. So being in composure just means I feel comfortable in what's going on. Just like the person I gave the platinum card to, their comfort level went up. So if someone's trying to build confidence, the number one mistake, and I've never heard anybody say this, but it is the number one crippling mistake you can make learning confidence or authority, is to view this lens of, I walk in here, we're in a podcast studio right now. If I tried to be really confident, my brain starts viewing this as a lens of, am I more confident than Leon? Am I higher up on some hierarchy than Leon? And the exact moment that somebody starts thinking or worrying about hierarchy and status, you have lost it. Like, it's gone. And if you just think of it in terms of, can I be more comfortable than the people around me? And that's not only going to be contagious, it's going to help them to relax. It's going to help me to relax. And I would say that is a huge breakthrough for anybody that's watching right now. If you can get to a point where all you're worried about is comfort, maybe you compare yourselves to other people, because it's an addiction. Start comparing yourself in comfort. Can I move slower than that other person? Can I breathe slower than that other person? Can I get into a place where I'm more comfortable than everyone else in the room? And if that's tough, just start with the speed. Just start with, can I move slower than other people in the room? And make that step one. And that is the first level. And we could just replace the word confidence with comfort, because that's what it truly is when it comes down to it. And it's the comfort and openness to being injured socially.
Just taking time to respond here, just being really confident.
You're trying to outslow me, is what you're doing.
Yes, is it working?
It's working.
So this is really fascinating. There is a social hierarchy, right? It does exist, but you would agree, right?
Yes,
it does
absolutely.
exist.
Yeah.
And whenever we get into competition mode, am I more confident? Am I more whatever?
Yeah.
That's what really screws us. I've always had an innate sense of that when I play these games, immediately what it assumes is I need to, because I'm not. So I think there's a lot of talk about in the manosphere about alpha males and status and all that.
Yeah.
And I think I always had a sense that is the most beta thing you could do, is just thinking about it that way. Because, and I talked about this in a video, like even just the way we approach certain things always has an echo. So when I tell myself, oh, I'm on a healing journey right now,
Yeah.
the echo that it's repeating to me is because I'm broken, right? And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing too. Same thing with, I remember growing up in high school, the girls, when they were 15, they hit a certain age where they tried really hard to be adults and to be really mature. And I always thought that's the most childish thing.
Yeah.
Who wants to be an adult? It's children, right? And so that's what I'm hearing too. So the moment I am worried about my status
Or hierarchy. Yeah.
or position in a hierarchy, I put myself lower. That's the number one killer to confidence.
Yeah. And then somebody watching right now is like, oh yeah, but I have a boss at work. I guarantee you somebody's thinking that. You know he's in charge, and you don't have to process, you don't have to think about hierarchy and status. You're just thinking about comfort. Can I be more comfortable than my boss? Is he going to think that's insubordinate if I'm just comfortable? No. And the best example of this, like if you want a masterclass in what composure looks like without hierarchy, this sounds so corny to say, but Andy Griffith, I don't know if you've ever seen the show. It's like a show from the 50s, 60s. It's a black and white show initially. It's about a sheriff in a small town called Mayberry. He doesn't even carry a gun. And he has a deputy named Barney Fife. And he's the definition, Andy Griffith, of composure and authority. He has the confidence, the discipline, the leadership, the gratitude, the enjoyment, all of it, perfect. But he has this deputy, Barney Fife, who's irresponsible. He carries a gun, but Andy makes him carry one bullet only. He's allowed one bullet, and he has to keep the bullet in his pocket, separate from the gun. Because this Barney Fife deputy is a perfect example of educating us on what collapsing and posturing looks like. So throughout every episode, this deputy vacillates between, I'm going to posture, I'm going to collapse, and can't kind of find that middle ground. And that happens to a lot of people. Like, if I've spent my life in collapse, I'm looking over here to this other end because I want to do the opposite of what I'm doing.
You want to do the posturing because you think that's the answer to
Right.
collapsing. So how does collapsing, and real quick just to define, or give some examples that people can grasp onto in their own lives, what would be examples of collapsing? What would be examples of posturing?
So collapsing would be, I'm going to make myself smaller so that other people are more comfortable.
People-pleasing?
People-pleasing behavior. And this happens a lot with money, with entrepreneurs. When I first got out of the military, I was used to making like $3,000 a month, for 20 years. And I started this business that I didn't think would be successful. And somebody asked me to come speak, and I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And they called me on the phone, and my fee was $5,000 to go do a keynote. And I said, that's all, that covers everything. You don't have to pay for travel or all that. I'll cover all that. And I got on the phone with this guy, and he said, okay, what's your fee to come out here to do a keynote? And I said, it's going to be $5,000 is the keynote fee. And here's what he did on the phone. It sounded like this. He goes, that's all he did. He just made a noise, like a disapproval noise. And I was like, well, we don't have to do the $5,000. I mean, I could give you a discount. I mean, I could fly out there soon. I could drive, charge you less money. We could probably do $2,500. It'll work for $2,500. And I almost got to the point in my brain where I'm like willing to tell this guy, I'll give you money to have me come down there and do this, just so I can go do it. And that is collapse. I was in full collapse because I'd never dealt with the civilian world. But we also do this socially. Like, I'm going to shrink myself down to make other people feel good, or I'm going to make myself inflated, which is posturing, to make other people feel a little smaller to make myself feel bigger. So they're both a little disingenuous. And you can imagine what it's like with posturing with money. It will be the opposite of collapse. Here's my fees. Actually, you have 24 hours to make a decision. If you don't make a decision and you don't email me, my fee goes up 15% every hour that you delay.
It's the beating your chest,
Yeah,
making other people feel small.
yeah,
So and both come from insecurity, from
Yes.
feeling not enough.
yeah.
Interesting. And people, they go from one extreme to the other because they don't know there's a healthy middle.
I think so. And we tend to think in opposites. So like let's say somebody's quitting smoking. And they're like, well, what's the opposite of this? I need to smoke 0 cigarettes. That's a big accomplishment, right? But they look at the opposite instead of the pathway to the center, or the pathway. So if I'm posturing my whole life, the opposite of that is like, I need to stop doing this and become a doormat. Or if I'm a doormat, I need to stop doing this and become a posturing person. And there's so many seminars out there of, I'm not going to name any names, but you can imagine these like posturing seminar leaders. And then you go to one of those seminars and the entire crowd is full of collapsed people who want to learn how to posture better. It's bizarre. So like, I need to learn how to do that guy on stage because it's the opposite of what I do. I'm kind of in collapse, and I see this guy posturing on the internet. I need to go learn how to be like that guy because it's the opposite of me. He's doing the opposite of my problems, which is where I need to be.
Sounds like collapsing is people who want to give control to other people and authority to other people, and posturing are the people who want to take control, and they're less agreeable, whereas the collapsing, they're highly agreeable, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It also sounds like composure, the difference between composure and the two extremes, which is collapse and posturing, is that in collapse and posturing, you are looking for something outside of yourself. You're looking for validation, you are manipulating, you seek approval. Whereas I think what gets people into composure is not needing anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes someone very powerful.
And I will tell you a quote from Dr. Phil here. The first time I ever went on the Dr. Phil show, we had become friends already, and we're standing in his office together, getting microphoned up and all this stuff at the exact same time, and he's putting his tie on, they're putting his mic on, and we're standing backstage, and I'm like, do you ever get nervous that you're going to do any of this stuff? Like, you're going to mess up on stage? Like, you get nervous going on stage? Because I was nervous. It's TV. And, like, he can choose to edit me out, but if I do something stupid, he can choose to keep that in, you know? So I said, you get nervous? And he goes, that is a disease. And it's a disease that 90% of the world has. It's the fastest curable disease, but nobody wants to cure it. And he said the disease is the need for love from strangers. Which is, he said, most people don't actually plan out where they want to get their dopamine from, where they want to get love from. So it defaults to the biggest giant group of, there's 1,000 people on my Instagram, there's 4 people that live in my house with me, or 3 that are my family members. And he said most people don't consciously think about where they want to receive their dopamine from. They don't map out where's it coming from now, and where should it be? What does the ideal map look like? Of, like, if I draw me in a little circle, it should be my daughter, my kids, my extended family, my friends, the dudes that I went on deployment with. Like, that, for me, that's what it would be. And I started drawing this map out, and it was like, I was embarrassed. As a brainwashing guy, I drew this out. I'm like, oh, I'm getting most of my dopamine from Instagram, and I'm getting some of my dopamine from just watching endless motivational YouTube videos. You know, this motivational speech compilation stuff like that? Yes. I did this so long, and because becoming a civilian was the most scariest thing. It was scarier than me going on deployment.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't know what civilian life was like. I've been in the military since I was 17. So just knowing that don't develop, and I would encourage anybody, don't develop some strategy to do it. Nobody developed a strategy for you to spot Honda Civics on the road. I would say get the awareness jammed into your brain of where your dopamine's coming from and where you want it to be, and rate yourself every day. How am I doing on a 1 to 5, a 1 to 10? And you don't have to punish yourself. You don't have to feel bad. You're just repeatedly throwing those emotions into the brain to where your reticular activating system is going to pick that stuff up and be like, whoa, Chase thinks this is important. I'm going to start paying attention to this. And it changes on its own because you've passed it off to the mammalian part of your brain, which controls everything. And somebody said, yeah, but the neocortex is way more important. And this was at a seminar. And I said, okay, do me a favor and hold your breath until you die. And you can't. You can't. Because you're using this part of the brain to try to control something lower. It's always down, up, and that's the power gets less the further you go up. So when it comes to influencing other people, the deeper down in your brain I can make my influence hit, the more effective it's going to be. And most people are about ideas, and that's where we get back to the identity in the limbic system, is targeting that area when it comes to influencing ourselves or somebody else.
Mm-hmm. To like wrap up the confidence piece, what are some practical things that people can do to maximize that? So we talked about slowing down, making yourself more comfortable, getting outside of the competition mindset, because that immediately puts you into a lower status, I guess.
Yeah.
What are some other things that people, they go to a party, they go on a date, They go into a business negotiation.
You're going to see so many YouTube videos that say 5 ways to feel confident instantly. Here's the body language. I'm the #1 body language expert in the world. I don't think it's that important. So like me displaying the body language of confidence is me just getting symptoms of confidence. So it's like, how do you make a tree into an orange tree? Well, you take oranges and some tape, and I'm going to duct tape it onto the tree, and that makes it an orange tree. That's giving it symptoms of being an orange tree. So let it take time and be okay with it taking 30 days or 60 days. The #1 thing is to start thinking in terms of my brain is having a limbic reaction to this moment. And my brain is reacting from millions of years of evolution because I'm walking into this party, like you said, or this business interview, and my brain thinks that there's a saber-toothed tiger in this room. That's what's going on. And so your brain thinks there's a tiger, so you have to use the phrase, there are no tigers. That automatically helps you understand that there's an antique system at play, very powerful, there to help you, but it's also there to protect you from tigers, and it thinks that there might be a tiger going on here. So remembering that there is a limbic system activity going on, and kind of reminding your brain, saying thank you. I appreciate this kind of warning that there's going to be a tiger here, but there aren't any right here. And starting to hear some of those limiting self-talk. We can go into this for another hour, but all limiting self-talk is you at the age of 8. That's all.
The process takes time, but winning benefits is life-changing for so many of our clients. The average disability check.
That's all it is. It's you trying to stay safe in middle school or elementary school. That's what that is. And we can break that down like crazy, but try that on. Like, if you have a chance, try that on. If you're hearing limiting self-talk, go back to when you were like 8, 7, 9. That's what you're hearing. You're hearing that kid. And if you start hearing it in a little kid's voice in your head, then everything changes.
Also, parenting yourself.
Yeah.
And just acknowledging, oh, this is just my little kid.
Yeah.
There's another question I had around this whole idea of social interactions and how we're being treated by other people, because I mentioned to you earlier, sometimes we're being treated by people and it creates in a certain way, and it creates a certain identity for us. For example, growing up in high school, we always had that one guy in the group that everyone was making fun of, who was at the end of every joke, and nobody was taking him seriously. And you could tell that he wanted to get out of that position. He wanted to be taken seriously, but people just kept treating him that way. I had a very similar experience when I came back years after being out of the country, Germany, where I'm from, and visiting my friends again. And I changed so much at that point, but being around these people, I got back into my position, or into my identity of who I used to be, because of the way that I was being treated, or the way that I was assuming that I should be treated. I think there may be people out there who feel like they're not being taken seriously, or the feedback that I've gotten from friends now is that they found me intimidating the first time they met me. And I was like, really? Me intimidating? I'm a super nice guy. I'm easygoing. Is it maybe because I'm posturing? I don't know. But that feedback kept showing up, and I was doing a leadership training. Same thing happened there. People were hesitant to reach out to me because they felt intimidated. How would one go about retraining people on who they are, or how they would like to be treated, or just changing the perception of the identity?
I think people are intimidated, or might likely be intimidated by you, because you don't have a lot of social approval-seeking behaviors anymore. You're not walking up, like I walked into this podcast studio, you're sitting there on your laptop, and we never met each other until this morning. And I walked up and you weren't like, oh, hey, how are you? And standing up really fast, trying to throw your computer off your lap. You didn't have any of those. It's a little more muted than most people are expecting, especially in today's society. But that's not a bad thing. But them being intimidated is most likely your face being neutral and them being worried. So it has nothing to do with you. It's your face that's neutral. You'll notice that very rarely, or rarely than most people, you'll do this eyebrow flash behavior. And we call this the gesture of approval. Like, give me some approval, or nod to me. So anytime like you're in a conversation, you start raising your eyebrows, somebody will start nodding. Because that's how we request approval, which you don't do very often. But I would say if somebody is struggling the other direction, they're trying to get people to take them more serious after they've been kind of inundated with this identity from their surroundings. This is going to sound counterintuitive, and it's going to sound like, oh, this is some crappy advice I'm hearing on YouTube. I want you to try it, and if you do, tag me somewhere, because it's a game-changing thing. When those people are talking to you, take 4 times as long as you normally would to respond to those people. But here's what the mistake people are going to make is to assume that this is a tactic. And the moment you assume it's a tactic, it automatically puts your brain into hierarchy thinking. Automatically. Like, this is a trick that I'm going to do. This is not something you're going to do. This is something you will become, the person who takes pauses. You're taking these pauses not as a tactic, but you're taking this 4-second, 5-second pause to break eye contact for a second if you need to, and genuinely contemplate how you want to respond to somebody's question. Because we give people 70% less time, or we give ourselves 70% less time to answer a question than we give to other people. So they're going to be very forgiving, but they're also going to see you genuinely thinking, and hopefully you are, genuinely process through, like, how will I be perceived here? What do they want me to, or what are they wanting out of this interaction? And what's the best way for me to think about this before and then answer genuinely? That pause, and being a person who pauses now before people speak, starts to change the perception. It's the fastest way that human beings' perception of a person has changed after they've had experience with you. So if they've known you as Johnny Joke Boy, I just made that up, for 20 years, and you're trying to change that, the first step is always, I'm going to start increasing the pauses when someone asks me something. I'm going to look away, so like if you ask me a question right now, think of a random one. I'll show you what it would look like if somebody wants to practice this.
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
That was my question.
Okay, let's try it again.
Do you like bananas?
I don't eat them often. And I might just take that much and like actually take a breath, look away, actually think about exactly what that person's saying, and you don't fall in the trap of thinking this is some kind of tactic, because so many people are going to do this, and it's
Like, same thing with the body language, just like make yourself bigger.
yeah, spread out. That's how we do it. I'm alpha.
Yes.
So, and don't get into the place where you're like, I learned a trick on YouTube. No, I want you to become the person who genuinely uses these pauses to contemplate and think about what that person's saying with depth. What's the depth of what's going on here?
So maybe that's the to-do for people, is really consider, what are they asking? Why may they be asking it? How can I serve them? How can I give them a very useful answer?
Yeah.
And really consider their perspective. And then what that shows up as is a break between talking.
Yeah.
I do notice myself doing certain behaviors that I think are collapsing. For example, I talk fast as well. I stumble upon my words sometimes.
But do you do this? We haven't hung out yet socially. But do you do this socially, or is it just on YouTube?
Part of it is definitely on YouTube. Socially, depends on the situation. I guess it depends on how comfortable I am.
Okay.
So I guess it's situation dependent. Another thing I notice myself doing too is forcing a laugh here and there when I'm uncomfortable. and oftentimes like putting on an extra nice and I notice that as collapse, as being extra nice. Also sometimes because I don't want them to feel intimidated, because that's the feedback I've gotten before, and then I try to make myself smaller, right? That's what I'm noticing. Yeah, what's your read? You mentioned...
Or you, and you and I have some mutual friends. And I know you have good friends because I know those people. Mm-hmm. And what would it be for you to take that authority assessment that you're supposed to do on your own and make your friends do one on you? And then every day, at the end of the day, this takes 30 seconds. Just write down, how did I do on composure today? How did I do on confidence? How did I do on the discipline part of this? There's no plan. It's not going to lead to like, oh, Chase is going to send me some 9-step miracle success formula, top secret, download now kind of a thing. You're just getting enough repetitions of that awareness that it's passed down to the lower part of the brain. So it sounds like a cop-out, but what I would really give you the best advice on is to pass that problem off to the lower part of your brain. And the best way to do that is through repetitive observation of it.
Just mindfulness, noticing myself in social interactions, looking back at the day, how did I do today?
At the end of the day, 5 seconds with a little pencil.
And just by tracking it and noticing it, it tends to improve. I've heard this before where somebody was on a weight loss journey and all they did was measure themselves every day and wrote it down.
Yeah.
And they just started losing weight just because they became aware of it. So it sounds like it's a very similar thing there.
Yeah, and that when you pass something onto your lower brain, that's when we use the word automatic. Even though it's not automatic, we're doing it. Mm-hmm. We're just doing it outside of our own awareness. So we're passing it down to the part of our brain that is hands down the most powerful thing that we've got. It's the most powerful thing in our whole arsenal. The problem is it just doesn't speak English. It speaks in imagery, repetition, and some of the other senses. Mm-hmm. But repetition most of all. So if I was to give you a master class on brainwashing and how to brainwash yourself, repetition is the #1 key to brainwashing. Number one. And then how can I do the repetition in a way that maintains my focus, has some authority over me, helps the tribe influence over me, and it goes along with emotion, so it creates some kind of emotion. And then I have the 4 parts of the mammalian part of influence. And there's 6 parts of how humans are influenced, which we can get into if you want to, but can I just focus on FATE, the fate? Mm-hmm. That is the primal drive. If I can get my goals to follow along with focus, authority, drive, and emotion, and repeat them like crazy, I'm going to pass it every single time. There's no exception. I'm going to pass that down into the mammalian brain. It's going to take care of most of my issues.
Mm-hmm. So the way where that would be applicable, brainwashing yourself, would be I see behavior changes, habit changes, and then also goals, right?
Yeah.
So I know I used visualization when building my first business, and I think what it gave me was permission. It made me confident in my goal that initially seemed way too out there, but because I kept repeating it in my mind, I ended up having dreams about it. And I think it gave me a confidence because it shifted my identity to someone who was doing that. I've done that, at least in my brain. So how would you apply brainwashing yourself? And what does that look like in practical terms?
So I would take how we brainwash other human beings and just kind of retroactively do that is through massive amounts of repetition. But one of the things you just said was that you got more and more comfortable because this visualization, that maybe having a vision board, if you did have one, I still use them to this day, is not just getting you to dream about it and all that stuff, but it's making it normal. Mm-hmm. So it's going from something that's novelty, a potential threat, I don't belong here, I don't have permission to be here, to something that's more normal and more normal and more normal because your brain is starting to see it so much. So we're reducing the factor of novelty. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's something, by the way, that I also noticed myself doing intuitively when I hit a big milestone. or I don't know, go on a date with someone who's really attractive, who, you know, people say, oh, she's out of his league.
Yeah.
You're just like, huh. Like instead of making this big thing and you're showing it off, it's just like, oh. And you're making it normal.
Yeah.
So is that part of it too?
That's a huge part of it. Like how fast can I normalize something that's desired? And I want to denormalize, if that's a word, the other things by keeping track of them every day as well. I'm denormalizing those things to my mammalian brain.
Turn your kitchen into a restaurant with new Kraft Signature Shreds. Amazing melt, rich flavor. Craft together a restaurant quality meal in your home.
Thank you, Chef. Everyone deserves the fastest, most reliable internet speeds, regardless of where they live. With Spectrum Internet, you can power all of your devices to enjoy streaming, video chatting, and gaming. I rely on Spectrum Internet. You should too.
Switch now.
So putting up a vision board, creating imagery around your house. You mentioned the old picture of yourself around the house.
Usual.
That's all part of brainwashing yourself and reminding yourself.
The last one-on-one client I worked with, if I could keep going on this for just another 60 seconds here, I had him go to Best Buy and get that. There's like a Samsung TV that's called a frame. Have you seen these? It's just a badass Samsung TV, but you can put art and pictures on it, and it doesn't look like a TV. It looks like it's a print of something. It's kind of neat. So I said, go get this Samsung TV, and then go get like the cheapest iPad mini that they've got there, or a Samsung tab, whatever, tablet. And then I made him make this vision board. It was like 890 something slides this guy put together of all these images and stuff. And I had him just get a piece of duct tape the tablet to the back of the TV, hang the TV up, and run a slideshow on repeat while mirroring the screen. So it's up on the TV 24 hours a day. And he's like, oh, I'm going to leave it on all night? And I said, well, you're trying to make millions of dollars. He says, ruining a $600 TV okay with you? Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's part of the process, is ruining something like that. That's another good thing. So he did that. And then he's like, well, how can I involve these other sensory concepts? And I was like, what is this biggest thing that you want? And he's like, money. I want all this money. So we got him an air purifier that has like this case thing in the bottom where the filter goes into it. And I told him to go get like 10K out of the bank, or you can go get a bunch of ones. But he filled this air purifier with money. So his entire office, the vision board's playing 24/7 right above his head where he's working. And this money starts coming in. And that guy had the fastest change of anybody I've ever seen. Because he was all in. He was willing to just totally, how can I train a dog mentality for everything.
Interesting. So imagery is one thing that I'm hearing. This is definitely something I'm going to set up. Some sort of imagery around my house, a slideshow. Now with AI, you can actually generate images, right? Like you can generate those images whichever you want.
Yeah.
Smell is another thing you mentioned. What else? Like I, for example, set up a hypnosis track. It sounds so weird, but I would go for walks and I would have a hypnosis track of, just affirmations or specific things that I just wanted to remind myself of.
Yeah, with your voice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Are there any other things, practical things that you set up, or is it just that and visualization?
I would say the third element is making your past tense self a source of dopamine.
Okay.
Here's how to do it. I expect a video about this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm kidding, which you don't have to do, but how can I make me get dopamine from me in the past without having a DeLorean, without having a time machine? How can I do that? So I would say the first week you start really small. You say, before I go to bed at night, I'm going to get the little coffee thing ready to go in my little coffee maker. I'm going to lift the thing up, stick the coffee in there, get the coffee cup I'm going to use in the morning, stick it underneath. That's going to be ready to go. Then the next day is, what outfit am I going to wear in the morning? I'm going to lay all of that out like there's been a butler. So I wake up and I'm like, wow, some butler did all this crap for me. It's amazing. Then the next level is, what am I going to need in the car? Am I going to need my sunglasses? All of these little things, like, what is my future me going to need? And the next level will be, what am I going to need in a week or 2 weeks? Like, I know I have to go speak on stage, or I know I have to go do this thing, I'm going to wear whatever. I'm going to hide money in those clothes. Or I might even write a note to myself that I'll probably forget about, that I'll find in a month or two, that I'll find later. So now, a source of my dopamine is me taking care of myself and taking care of my future. And then I'm like, it's summertime right now, and I'm gonna go stick a couple $100 bills into my winter jackets, so I'm gonna find them in the winter and know that that's for me. So I'm getting a sense of good feelings all about me. And I might do this with financial stuff, set myself up financially, set myself up socially, where I'm having these parties, or whatever it is. How can I make future me look back at me now and say, man, that was awesome. Like, I wish I could fist bump myself back then. That is the most powerful way to change anybody's life, is having me in the past as a number one sense of dopamine and pleasure reward, because I did something for me in the past.
Mm-hmm. What's the reason behind that?
You mean, why does it work?
Yeah.
So we get, dopamine makes us addicted. So like you see this people watching porn or doing drugs or whatever it is. So the dopamine addiction now becomes, the more happy I can start making my future self, the more successful I'm going to start making my future self, the more pleasure I'm going to get. So you're tricking your own brain into getting dopamine from your past. And then it becomes a cycle, like, I'm going to outdo this. I'm going to do something even more crazy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fascinating because I'm about to record an episode about that, because I've been curious about how to get myself addicted to doing challenging work. I've been not doing content for the last 6 months, and I found it difficult to sit down and actually do focused work.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that I dove into, is dopamine, and listening to my Uncle Huberman and what he talks about that,
yeah.
Right? What he talks about on that topic. And that's what I'm finding too, is just being able to attach dopamine to those things.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense. If you attach dopamine to making your future self happy, or what you mentioned was putting your future's needs before your own needs,
Yeah.
present needs, you just train your brain to enjoy that and enjoy doing that.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And when it comes to like, I need more dopamine from doing hard things. A huge mistake that most people make, they see somebody eating really healthy. They see somebody that goes to the gym every day, and they're like, oh, that guy's got discipline. They got a lot of discipline. That's not discipline at all. The only discipline that was there was just there to make the habit start. So like somebody going to the gym every day, that's just a habit at this point. The only discipline that was there was the discipline to get this thing started off the ground. But that's where we have these reserves in our bodies. I'm going to sound like your uncle here, but we have these reserves in our bodies that's limited of how much willpower do I have. And if I'm doing like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat 1.2 pounds of green spinach every day. I'm also going to start juicing. I'm also going to like run 4 miles. I'm going to start all this at the same time. You're done. It's impossible.
Too much.
Just a little bit at a time. So my discipline's going to run out. So just use a teaspoon of discipline at a time to get a habit kick-started, and then very gradually start the next one. Because that stuff goes away so fast. But even more importantly, I'm not going to start really good habits unless I have a really good addiction to future me.
That's a baseline.
Yeah. The moment I can get an addiction developed to making future me more happy, and I got this giant ass piece of cheesecake right here. And like I pull out a fork and I start cutting into it, I'll be like, wait. Instantly I'm thinking about, this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is for future me. I'm not going to eat this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get more dopamine from that. It's like you're looking in the mirror and you looked at it. So you get into that state, it makes all the other habits so easy to do, because all of your discipline is rooted to getting something done that's going to make you happy already, because you have an addiction to making your future successful.
I love that. Let's finish up the. So we talked about confidence a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just what people think about a lot. That's what they care about a lot. You mentioned discipline. Just talked about that as well. So your level of discipline in your home, off camera, off stage, also affects your ability to be an authority, be seen as an authority, and move like an authority. The next thing is leadership. So we can dive into leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment. What do these mean? How do we increase those?
Leadership is really easy. Is just asking myself, am I being the same person off camera as I am on camera? And if it's not, do I need to do something different on camera? So like when I'm at work, and let's say I'm in charge of a team or something, am I being fake there where I need to be less fake? And how can I bring that into my personal life? And if you're not willing to be that way in your personal life, there's a big problem. And that's where leadership starts. That's the beginning of leadership. When you talk to some, we've all had a conversation where we looked at a person, they were really confident, maybe like a bar or a networking event or something like that. Everything looked great. They had a perfect suit on, good haircut, confident behavior and all that. And after the conversation, you're like, something's off. Something's off about this guy. That's that shit not adding up like it's supposed to. There's off camera and on camera. On camera he's great, but the off camera stuff leaks out through our body. That's where it becomes that body language and stuff that I talk about all the time. And I would tell everybody, what you do off camera will create a gut feeling in everyone you meet. If you just remember that phrase, like burn it into your soul, everything that I'm doing when nobody's looking is going to create a gut feeling in other people. And if I view myself as being in the business of making good gut feelings in people, then what I do off camera becomes exponentially more important.
I see that to be very true in my life too. When I started bringing on a team, I realized how difficult leadership is because you can't hide.
Yeah.
You can't hide.
Yeah.
So everyone talks about culture. Culture is what you do, it's not what you say. Well, culture is not just like developing a culture in your business or in your community or in whatever you're building, in your family. It's not just what you do when you're with them. It's what you do when you're even by yourself. It's all about integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Integrity, and the word integrity, they use in shipbuilding, and when we build military ships or any ship, is that there's no water leaks. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing for us. I'm not leaking out little indications of me being a different person on camera than off camera. And when I first started this company, after I retired from the military, I thought, man, people are going to think that I'm being fake. People are going to think that some of this is artificial. So I had these elite clients that I coach every week. It's a mastermind coaching group. We call it the graduate school. And I invited all of them to my wedding. They met my parents. They got to interrogate and interview my parents and my sister. They met my grandparents. I said, what I challenge you to do is find one instance of me being different off camera than I am when I train you, when I interact with you, when you see me on YouTube, you see me on stage. I challenge you to do that. And that was terrifying. So I thought somebody, maybe there's something I don't know about. Somebody's going to say something I forgot about. But that was the ultimate for me. Because I knew that if I didn't push myself that far, that I would always worry. So I had to get that proof. And I think if we're comfortable enough to say that if there was a hidden camera, that, except for the toilet, maybe, but if all my employees could watch me at home with a hidden camera, would they follow me? And when I was in the military, my rank was chief. And it's a big deal to become a chief, especially in the U.S. Navy. And we go through this huge initiation process and all this, but chiefs eat in this little separate area, like away from everybody else. You have to eat in this we sleep separately, we eat in this little thing. And on the way out of this, it's called the mess, the chief's mess. On the way out of our chief's mess on this ship that was called USS Chafee, DDG-90, walking out of the door, they had this sign right there at eye level that says, if you lost your rank and your uniform tomorrow, would all of your troops still follow you? And that was it. And I think that's the second element to that. Like, do I inspire people? Like, A, do I live as an example when nobody's looking? B, do I inspire followership? Not do I inspire people about, oh, here's the mission. No, I want, like, am I followable? Just naturally. So the test is, and this is what I tell all my clients, the test is, if I sent you back in time 10,000 years, where no one speaks English, could you be an authority? Could you make people see you as an authority? Or you couldn't convince anybody, you don't have any uniforms to go off of, would your behavior still come off as followable to those people? And that's what I think makes that happen.
Again, speaking to the mammalian brain.
Yeah.
So, if somebody were to lack integrity,
Yeah.
or they're putting in a performance and they're like, oh, I'm actually kind of a piece of shit, and I'm pretending to have everything together, how would one go about fixing that?
Cheapest solution in the world. Go on Amazon right now and buy fake security cameras. They're like $11. They're fake. You stick a battery in there and a red light beeps. It's a totally fake camera. Stick it in your bedroom. Stick one in your kitchen, like in your face. And it doesn't have to be permanent. You don't have to like screw it down, or you can hot glue it or whatever. But put it in a place where it's going to be looking you right in your face for like a month, or maybe 60 days, whatever you need. But just like reminding you like crazy. And those cameras are the ultimate thing that make our behavior change. It's like people are like, well, I'm not good on camera. I'm afraid of camera. We're surrounded by cameras in here. But a camera makes people's behavior change, especially when you're trying to be private. As we know, we're on a podcast. We're not trying to we don't have any expectancy of privacy here. But when it's forced in your face, there's people looking at me. There's people watching me. It reminds you to start living that way off camera. And it can change your entire life, and it costs $11.
I think another component to that too would be, like, sometimes people are posturing so much you can't even back it up with actions.
Yeah.
So I think the solution for those people would just be start telling the truth, right?
Yes. And if the advice I would give to somebody who's posturing is, if you've spent some time in your life where, damn, this arm of this chair keeps going out from under.
Sorry about that.
If you spent some time in your life where you were posturing and you want to get to a point where you're not doing it anymore, start getting in the habit of talking openly about your insecurities. So like, if I'm a posturing person and I come on this podcast with Leon, and the first thing I would force myself to say is, I'm really nervous. I don't know if I'm going to bail here. I don't know if I'm going to say something really stupid and then you're going to keep it in the episode. I'm just going to say what's going on internally to force authenticity into my life. And this is not a habit you have to do forever, to where you're like, if somebody's got a pimple on their head, you're like, you have to say it or something like that. That's ridiculous. So we're getting to a point where I'm the raw person. Like, if I'm keeping a piece of armor on me somewhere, I'm starting to get in the habit of just taking little pieces of armor off in every conversation that I have. And if something makes me feel weird or awkward, I openly talk about it. That's the first thing that happens. And that's the fastest pathway, aside from going down that authority inventory and just rating myself on a daily basis. I think it's the fastest pathway to get to a point where I'm doing that. And that also goes back to, am I open to social injury? Can I be open to being injured socially?
Next up, gratitude and enjoyment.
Yeah.
Why is gratitude and enjoyment in there? Because I would think there are authority figures that are miserable, they're not grateful at all, and they're not really enjoying it. But everyone looks up to them and they follow them. So why are those two in there?
These are what make you have the highest amount of authority. These aren't the 5 requirements. So I can have 3 of those. If I have 3 out of those 5, that are super high, then you're well above most people. You're in the top 10%. If you have all 5, you're in the top 1%. But with gratitude and enjoyment, we don't need to go into an explanation of that. Everyone knows there's a billion YouTube videos out there on gratitude and how to be in a good mood, how to stay positive. Number one, positivity and enjoyment. Being just enjoying what's going on now. Doesn't mean I'm partying, doesn't mean I'm celebrating or smiling all day long. It just means I'm living in enjoyment. I'm comfortable with the moment. I'm mindful of the moment, which automatically makes you enjoy the moment. And the gratitude part is, if you and I were sitting in the Austin airport here together, just like at a gate, and I said, Leon, look around here and find me a person who has a really high degree of gratitude in their life. Without knowing why, you could pick somebody within 5 seconds.
Probably for the other components too, right? For leadership, confidence, discipline.
Yeah.
Native's moisturizing lotion for long-lasting moisture that blends in easy without the grease.
Get the right care right away. Because life, Highmark Blue Shield.
Yeah.
So, with gratitude, even that, I would be able to intuitively pick someone.
Yeah, so if you guessed, you'd probably be correct. Even if like you didn't know why, you'd be like, oh, I think that person has a lot of gratitude. We intuitively see all of these things and they weigh in on how much a person's brain, even unconsciously, totally unconscious, says, am I willing to completely trust this person? Are they a genuine authority figure? So we follow these people on social media, these people with authority who have, or maybe posturing people, and getting to know them in person, that's a different deal.
I guess when we assume somebody's grateful, or when somebody appears grateful, it's probably a signal to us that they make good decisions, otherwise they wouldn't be grateful, therefore they may be worth following.
Yeah. So gratitude is, people are going to view it as maybe a tactic or something, but that gratitude is A, it's contagious. B, it automatically reassures people that you are grateful for your past decisions, which means that you place a tremendous amount of trust in your future ones.
And that, all of that concludes authority.
That's authority. Those are the 5 traits of authority, for sure.
Mm-hmm. This is a question that I want to ask you as well, given that you know so much about this topic and you've worked in this field. With how much accuracy can you tell whether someone's lying?
It differs. So if I'm looking at lie detection, I published something called the International Standards of Behavior Analysis to help bring some clarity to this crazy world of behavior profiling, body language stuff. Let's break it down really quick. There's 5 things we need to look for, and the very last and least important one is this list of deception behaviors: scratching the nose, lacking eye contact, blinking too much, all of that's the least important. So the first one is changes. I'm going to look for how does a person normally behave, and then how do they behave when the important topic is brought up, or when the weird question is brought up, or when the wife asks her husband, what's this app on your phone called, whatever.
Schminder.
Yeah.
Schmumble.
Yeah, Schminder. And then now all of a sudden you have a weird change from somebody's baseline. Then you have context. So context means like, oh, well I asked that question about this, and Leon crossed his arms. But at that same time, the AC kicked on and it was already 65 degrees in here. So the context deletes the importance of of the change that I saw. Then we have clusters. Somebody who says, oh, someone's scratching.
Don't rent a car. Rent the cars you love for the prices you'll love even more. 6. Rent the car.
Design a trip.
Niggas still using hoodies that disguise you. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. What did this fool have with it? Why you have to be? Was he nervous? Was the homie cocking his gun every time he shot? Oh, not true. How's your doors open? So he shoot, cock, shoot, cock, shoot, cock, shoot, cock. What kind of gun? I want to say it's jamming,
No, it's
but
jamming.
it's shooting.
It's jamming.
Bro,
He ain't cleaning that his shit.
that
That's
gun
what it
is discharging. Look. See, it's discharging. And he dropping shells. I think he got, it's some, bro, it's some guns that's that messed up, I promise you, to where you gotta slide it every time you shoot that bitch, because it's like, it jam, but it don't jam. You get what I'm saying? If that make any sense. Who's doing it? Them niggas did a dumb robbery. What the hell was, what did we just watch? Why did you get my phone? Did we get something? Yep, sure did. That car right there followed the room. I'm like, which bro bus? No. Hey, that's a Range Rover. That look like a community, right? But yeah, bro got out and started cracking. The passengers probably girls driving too. And they called the wrong nigga home. Too much. Music was too much, but
What's up, y'all?
this what I mean.
Join me.
This exactly. Me and Fonz and them was just talking about this. This was last night, literally, bro. We were just talking about this. You gotta be a dumb, slow nigga. Say you work 15 minutes away. Say your job is 10 minutes away. Say the club is 20 minutes away. The point I'm trying to make is, you gotta be dumb as hell for somebody to follow you home from your job or from the club for 20 damn minutes and you not notice it, bro. No way in hell.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is...
No way in hell. Oh yeah, I forgot to speed it back right there. It's no way in hell. They at home. And they can't see this car behind them. The car wasn't waiting at the block, waiting for them to hit the block so they could come home. They catch them when they getting out there.
What up?
That wasn't that. They followed them for miles, bro. They didn't know the shit. Tell me, y'all be living too. Y'all too safe, bro. Y'all don't think shit can happen to y'all, man. They just be living too safe. Well, I had a good day today, man. I woke up, got this morning hit. The weed was fire. I went to go pick up my kids. Every light was green. And then at the end of that day, your ass be got. Don't think it can happen, bro. I don't think it can happen. Look, I don't want to go home no more. I want to start shooting like a motherfucker. Like, how you got a camera in? This is not the city police. This is their camera at their house.
Yo,
It's advantage, bro.
he's dead ass serious though, man. He's not even lying.
How you this careful, this safe, but can't notice motherfucker following you home? All I do is look in your rearview mirror. When you make a left, every time you get on a new street, look in your rearview mirror.
That's what I do.
I don't look. You could be driving on the street, 9 blocks. Whenever you make a left, look behind you to see if that car that was following you on that last street is still behind you. Every time you get on a new street, look in your rearview mirror to make sure the same car not behind you that was on the last street. Listen to me, bro. How do y'all not fucking notice?
I look every time, bro. I ain't gonna
How
hold
do
you.
you? Is it for real? I'm cute. I'm a female. I go to work. I'm not a gangbanger. I'm a civilian. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. All right. Oh, I see this. You gonna put the gas on these niggas. Yeah, watch out, nigga. Watch out, nigga.
Hop out if you want.
I see this was viral like 5-6 years ago, bro. And I was always wondering, like, what kind of gas pump is this? Because most gas pumps, it got the scrunchy thing on there, and it won't dispense without you putting it up to your car thing, and it, you know what I'm saying? But how did he do this? Because he was doing it with one hand.
Not out here.
And he wasn't holding the little dispense thing.
Not out here. Not in New York. That's not how I go down in New York. Oh, God.
I think I gave him 9 gallons.
Ah. I'll do some gas on that ass.
She looked like a little girl.
That nigga was on fire stick. Blood fire.
It really took her 3 hours to notice what the fuck was going on, though. You was that into your whatever, bro. You were outside. You was that into your whatever. I said 3 hours. That took her 4 hours. And it looked worse if we was to do it in slow-mo. She's not on her phone. Her hand is in her pocket. Her other hand is pumping gas. Look at this slow-mo, bro. Damn, how long is it gonna take her to notice that a nigga was in her car?
Yo.
Was she thinking about the dick she got last night? Because if you're not on your phone, are you watching the gas? Well, she can't watch the gas go in because it's covered by the car. You know, some people be amused by that. They like to see shit fill up, go out. You know what I'm saying? What was she doing?
Think about that muscle.
My nigga was like, it's finna be an easy leg. But anyway, she's still not paying attention. Right? Look. Huh?
No. Bro. Stop.
She's not watching him.
Stop it.
Squad. She's
Stop.
not watching. What you mean she's watching him? Sean Kirk Jr.? That's why you a junior. You're not as smart as your daddy. She's not watching him. She's dazed the fuck out. She's somewhere else. She is somewhere else, bro. I don't see. This not watching. Come in. Come here. Yeah, this is crazy. Not right there. Bro was in the car. Bro still he's all the way in the car now. You don't feel the car moving a little bit?
Nope.
You didn't see the nigga that was in front of you and he just disappeared?
Nope.
What is her problem, bro? Damn, this can't be real.
She's comfortable. Oh God, she's comfortable herself.
Yourself. It's simple. It's easy. Stop sweating. Get one. Mr. Cool has everything a Southern dad needs to meet the summer heat.
Knuckles. His powers are exceptional. He's the key to...
And how can you not know this nigga all the way in your car? I want to say she's supposed to get her shit started. You this stupid, and it's just not paying attention at all. This is not paying attention at all, so I had to slow it down because I have it too fast. $3 hours. 4 hours, I should say. Damn. Now she look up. And then look in. Stay in there with bro. Yup. He gonna hop out. He telling her to get out. Ladies. Me, I'm staying in. Any female in this situation, get out. Don't hop your ass in that car, bro, if you ain't got no gun.
Don't hop your ass in that car.
Now, if you're a kid in the car, then you get in the car. But other than that, let them steal your car. It's too late. It's too late.
Fucked up.
They put a shot in the ass. You got a civilian helping. She's stupid, bro. Another follow home. How do y'all not notice this? Why?
Oh yeah, push that shit back.
Oh, my bad. It's still slowing down. I'm tripping. I'm bad. But how they doing with this follow home? All right, put that shit in drive and leave. You ain't that scared. He trying to hit their ass.
No.
He can say what they did, bro.
Ain't going nowhere now.
What the hell is happening?
Well, it's good. Stole the car.
Hey, squad. Is it worth killing somebody if they try to jack your car or just trying to get away? Is it worth actually taking somebody's life for trying to take your car? Give me your honest opinion.
Yes.
For real.
Yes. Yes, bro.
It's only, you know,
Yes. It's a material
materials.
item.
It's a car.
But yes, it's the
It's a
principle.
man's life. He can never get it back.
It's the principle,
Ever.
bro. It's the principle. People work all day and all night for
They
their shit.
made how many of them cars?
It don't matter.
You can get another one.
It does not
Especially
matter.
with
No,
insurance.
it's not. That's not the same, bro.
Me?
It's the principle.
Say him, yeah.
It's the principle. Anybody that steal my car is getting shot, bro.
Killing somebody over anything that they try to take from you. I don't care, bro. It's not about, it's
It's
not
the
point, it's the
principle, my
principle.
nigga. It's the fucking
You are
principle.
not finna make me feel less of a man by taking my bag of chips, bro.
Exactly.
He killed him over some chips. You always hear that. And that don't even be the case to the nigga that killed him.
It's the principle, bro.
It's a respect. It's morals. You wouldn't even be able to sleep at night if you let a nigga rob you for your chips. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't. That'll kill your spirit. Some people can live with it. Some people can't, bro. But shit, you take,
You get
you
tough.
better be ready to come with it. Even if nothing happened to you, then nothing happened to you.
Yeah.
If something happened to you, just know you robbed that nigga for his chips, bro.
Right. That's fucking right.
You're being real. How the fuck? Why is a car more important than somebody's chips? Car get you around. That's his last bag of chips. This nigga was starving. I'm being real. We ain't talking about the cost. We're talking about the important. We said about that property to protect myself. Yeah. A lot of people would do it. Let me tell you why a lot of people won't do it. It ain't got nothing to do with pride. Ain't nothing. A lot of people won't do it. Put it like this: a lot of people would do it if they wouldn't went to jail. If they don't go to jail for it. And that's just something I don't think about, bro. I mean, of course I think about it.
That's why niggas be robbing niggas, bro.
I should say. I really don't. Yeah, we already on it. And we about to hit your shit. Watch out. Now y'all dismobile.
Black holes.
Now your wheel crying. Y'all leaving the homie, bro.
No, Chico!
Look. And it's always when they get home. How you doing that? How you don't see this shit?
If I got a gun on me and you rob me, For my shit, shoot. You know, if I ain't got a gun, I might just fucking stab you to death. In all honesty.
Kill that nigga.
What's a recipe used?
I know what time it is. Bink, yup.
How stupid are they? Why are y'all shooting at them, bro? Why? If you can't get the lick that you want, bro, if you can't get the lick that you want, the lick that you went for, and it happened to reverse real quick and leave, okay, cool. You don't get them all. Cool. But if you was to rob them, and they call the police on you, right? Then, hey, that's supposed to happen. We just robbed them for that shit. We came up, of course they gonna call the police, cool. But if you don't rob nobody, and you don't get nothing on the failed mission, and they run away, you don't shoot at them and put the police on your ass, the description of the car, the shooters. Now you finna go to jail for not getting nothing, bro. This what I mean by taking dumbass niggas on the lick. Because that driver and them other 3 people that was with that fool that's shooting, all going to jail for the shooting too, bro. And he just acting off his own recognizance, his own mind, like just shooting at him for no, mad because you couldn't get the lick. You followed him all the way home and couldn't execute it, bro. That's your fault. You don't start shooting because you mad, my nigga. Them type of niggas that give niggas 10 years for nothing, bro. Dumb homies. I be telling y'all gotta watch what y'all with out here. Niggas will get you locked up. Yeah. What y'all thought this was, nigga? Oh, they double back! Nah, bro, they would've tried the wrong niggas. Hold on. Hold on. They was waiting on somebody and they seen it. I was waiting on you to wait on me. I was waiting on
a
them to
little
wait on
fucking
me.
smart card too.
My nigga turned back around and finished the job.
No.
And let me tell you all about this, bro. Let me tell you all about this. Even though they was finna rob them,
Yeah.
now you finna get 2 counts of attempted murder.
No, it ain't.
Now you going to jail. You see
No,
how
it ain't.
flip the
No, it
law
ain't.
is, bro?
No, it ain't. 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 It's self-defense, bro.
They wasn't hurting them. They wasn't shooting at them. You could say, well, it looked like they was trying to rob me. They was sitting in front of my house. They was plotting on me. The judge gonna say, well, they didn't do nothing. Why you didn't call the police? It would have been too late. They would have killed me. And then they would have hit him with the, okay, well, you reversed. You hit that car. You got away. Why did you come back and do it again? My nigga, you
immobilize
at
that
least
car.
cool 10 years. A cool 10 years,
Disable
bro.
that car so that when they got here,
And they gonna give you attempted murder on everybody in that car. So, if it's 4 people in the car, that one nigga got food in the desert, the nigga was out of there. 4 people in the car on the first reverse. That's why I said 2 counts, but dude, let me explain it. 4 people in the car on the first reverse. That's 1 count of first-degree murder on 4
what y'all
people.
think? Y'all think he on point or not? Y'all think he capped?
The second time, when he left and came back, that's the second account of, I said first degree. attempted murder on 4 people. So bro got 2 counts of 8 charges, basically, bro. It's like killing a nigga twice. You get charged for a dead body twice. They charged this nigga twice. But he came back and did it again, bro. Crazy. No, I messed up and said first degree. I meant to say attempted murder.
Hey there, it's Mandy from Sprizzy. In this video, I'll show you how to set up your first Sprizzy campaign.
Suspects will go to some insane lengths to get away from the police, but very few will go as far as to jeopardize their own lives, like these daring getaway drivers. Here are 10 of the craziest police chases of all time. Meet 32-year-old Charles Carswell III, an armed robbery suspect who, on April the 6th of 2020, was fleeing through Oklahoma to get to Ohio. And while traveling on I-40, Charles was located and apprehended by Oklahoma State Trooper Brack Miller. Trooper Miller attempted to initiate a traffic stop, but Charles sped away as soon as he noticed the lights and sirens.
Struck a OCPD motorcycle officer. Shots fired from a shot one to the back window.
Charles reportedly had 2 handguns in the front seat and was using them to fire at the pursuing officers. While not focusing on the road, he nearly crashed into multiple cars and an officer who was conducting an unrelated traffic stop in the emergency lane.
Looking at you, huh?
After Charles spun out, he then quickly hopped out and After Charles spun out, he then quickly hopped out and ran to his trunk, retrieving an AK-47 and 2 AR platform rifles. He then hid inside of his vehicle and fired at the oncoming officers, initiating a several hours-long standoff. And during that time, officers tried to negotiate with Charles, offering him medical assistance after he was injured in the shootout. But unfortunately, he chose his fate when he lunged for his AK-47, opening him up for a barrage of gunfire from the police, and Charles was pronounced dead on the scene shortly after. Sadly, we may never know exactly why Charles chose to end his life that day, but it's clear that this next suspect didn't fancy a trip to the jail either, since she opted to steal a squad car instead. On September the 2nd of 2017, 33-year-old Tasha Sponsler was reported to police for shoplifting from an Ulta. Tasha fled the scene on foot, but police caught up to her a short ways down the road and placed her under arrest. But Tasha didn't plan on peacefully remaining in the patrol car.
Not out of the patrol car, still out of it. What the fuck? This bitch is a magician. Yo, she's a magician. How? We just seen that lady cop lock those cuffs up on her. Yo, this bitch is a fucking... She's Houdini.
Tasha had managed to undo her seatbelt and slip out of one of her handcuffs, then squeeze through the unlocked partition window into the front seat. And guess what was sitting in the ignition?
No! No! You got mad. Someone's fired. He's fucking fired. That nigga said, no! No! You got mad. Good girl.
After about 10 minutes of erratic driving and near crashes, an officer performs a successful pit maneuver on Tasha's vehicle, and the devastating moment of impact was captured on the dash cam of what was now Tasha's patrol car.
Yeah. Oh, you think? Back to jail again.
Tasha was then arrested again and transported to the police station without further incident. And it's a good thing they stopped her as quickly as they did, before she could figure out how to unlatch the holstered shotgun that was inside of the patrol car. 6 months later, she would be found guilty of evading arrest with a vehicle with a previous conviction, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, escape causing serious bodily injury or threat of a deadly weapon, and aggravated assault against a public servant. Witnesses who gave testimonies during sentencing disclosed that Tasha had a history of drug use and mental illness, including bipolar disorder, but that had no bearing on her sentencing, as she was still placed in prison for 45 years. That would be the expected outcome and result for someone with a history of repeat offenses, but no one could have expected the results of this.
They finished that bitch. They sent her up the river. She ain't never coming back.
On May the 20th of 2023, police were made aware of a vehicle sitting idle on Rockledge Drive with an unresponsive driver behind the wheel. Officers responded to the vehicle and got close enough to check the driver, whom they suspected was heavily intoxicated, And that's when they realized that 37-year-old Lawrence White was armed with a gun.
Someone died. Personal died. See, it's gun in his, on his lap.
Daddy, police! Go home! Hands up! Put your hands up! Hands up! Police! Let me see your hands! Hands up! Keep your hands up! Hands up! Police! Hands up! Keep your right hand up! Watch that right hand. Like that. Like that. Right. Put your hands up! I'm not going to interfere with it. No. Put it in dry. Put it in dry. Police. Hey, who's that?
Body cam.
Lawrence had managed to bypass the blockade and get away from the stop, and as such, he's officially crossed the line into fleeing and eluding, which in Maryland can earn a suspect up to a year of prison time and $1,000 in fines, according to Maryland Statute 21904. But unbeknownst to the officers, this stop was not going to end with a trip to the pen.
60, 1D to 270, Black Infinity.
When Lawrence crashed into the barrier, he was thrown from the vehicle and landed in the middle of the road. And officers can be seen on dash cam performing CPR on him until the paramedics arrived. Unfortunately, Lawrence was pronounced dead. Paramedics arrived on scene, but the occupants of the vehicle that Lawrence collided with were transported to the hospital and treated for minor injuries. It's unfortunate that night didn't end differently for Lawrence, but one could say the same for this next suspect, who was paralyzed by gunfire during a deadly high-speed pursuit.
He hit him.
On October the 12th of 2020,
Yeah.
Officers responded to reports of 2 suspects breaking into tractor trailers at a BP gas station.
Not
Police
BP.
then respond to the Pilot Travel Center, where they catch the pair red-handed breaking into another tractor trailer. And upon realizing they'd been caught, the duo jumped into a U-Haul truck and sped away from the scene, initiating a pursuit.
Anybody know if pimpreneurs work on every vehicle or just like smaller vehicles?
Somebody was switching going south on
The U-Haul just struck the front driver's side of another vehicle while trying to turn onto US 29. But the suspect continued speeding down the road, and at one point it became apparent that he was purposely trying to ram into others' vehicles.
South on 29, opposite lane. That's it. We'll stay back a little bit. You have a little foot. Keep it. That's the airport right there. Now, we're getting there where the civilian stops things out with you. They're turning their headlights out. They're going to get somebody around here in the street.
Oh, he got glasses. Oh, I can't. Those are cool.
How about how when he turns his head, he look out the window?
The ballsy suspect was now trying to ram the officers off the road as they attempted to surround his vehicle, so the cruisers backed off and resorted again to the spike strips. But when the suspect kept speeding and trying to wreck into people, they had to make a hard call.
Yo, this cop just pulled a drive by. Ah! I think we're gonna stop now. He's gonna wait to shoot his ass. He about to blink him. He's blinking at him. Yo, this cop is not playing. He got fed up. He said he ain't gonna let him hurt nobody. This nigga out here winging shots. Bro, that's gonna hurt somebody. Well, he done. Yep, you should set him. Oh yeah, you should set him. He's done.
The U-Haul finally rolls to a stop after crashing into a concrete divider. The driver, later identified as 45-year-old Jackie Harris, was reportedly shot 3 times, including once in the spinal cord, which left him paralyzed from the waist down. Later, Jackie would admit to consuming an 8-ball of cocaine before going on their theft spree that night, and the passenger, 42-year-old Mario Keene, walked away with minor injuries. As with all firearm discharges, an internal investigation was conducted, and it was found that the officer responded appropriately by choosing to use deadly force against Jackie, who had presented an imminent danger to the officers and innocent civilians. Cases like these serve as reminders of why it's important to comply with police, because you just never know how it's going to end. But we can proudly say the next case ended exactly as it should have, with this crazy Karen's arrest.
Karen! Don't rent a car. Rent the cars you love for the prices you'll love even more. 6. Rent the car.
If you've been waiting to apply for disability benefits, don't. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a lawyer at Atticus. Applying as soon as you're struggling to work or are unable to work because of your condition can help make for a stronger case. If you're considering applying for disability benefits, we can help. Across the board,
Bricks off of that right here.
I am, because you can get match the description of a wanted fugitive.
On May the 29th of 2024, an officer performed a traffic stop on the vehicle of 42-year-old Alexandria Mason.
Oh man, she's a basehead.
Warrant for failing to appear in court on charges of possession of drugs and drug paraphernalia. And upon confronting Alexandria, the officer noticed indicators that she was intoxicated, and she quickly became cooperative and combative.
Y'all can tell me how it is. It moves a bit better. How much? Are y'all in the house? Alright, yeah.
I gotta play this.
I saw it. Hey,
Wait, what we supposed to be doing though?
Oh, Team Deathmatch.
It's TDM.
Yeah, I'm about to go Google that. I'm about to go up on what you call it, RDC GTA.
Today we're talking about people.
Y'all can tell me how it is.
It moves a bit better. How much? Are y'all in the house? Who's shooting?
I saw it. Hey,
Wait, what we supposed to be doing though?
Oh, Team Deathmatch.
It's TDM.
So we playing against other people?
Nigga,
Oh.
I got my money on me! I got a money on me!
Going side to side.
Hey,
I got a money on me!
It's a nigga on the roof.
I got a money on me! Superman!
No, I'm dead. I'm
Right, I'm trying to shoot that nigga. Oh, he on the roof, okay. Yeah, let's get that nigga on the roof then.
Are we gonna get one live?
Yeah, nigga, just like real life, man. Sorry.
Okay, that's what they on.
Hey, you want to clip upstairs, dude?
Yeah.
I'm watching it, right? Going on right now.
Come man.
Stay. Oh! Dude, did he shoot me or you? Who shot me?
I saw him.
Really?
Hey, dude, he on the roof looking through the window. I see him, he's looking for you.
That's crazy.
Whoa! That scared the fuck out of me, though.
I'm about to see if I can find that real quick. Y'all think I can find that? Yeah, they don't got it on PlayStation. That's crazy. I would have thought that they would have had that shit. Interesting. I'll play this for a little and then I'm gonna go to fucking COD for a while. join them. Be sure to hit that like button, sub up, turn on them notifications. That helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Like play some GTA for a little. Y'all trying to join me? Just depending. I'm on PlayStation 4, so. It's loading screen gonna take a minute though. Damn, this shit is taking forever to fucking load. About fucking time. Nigga, open the safe, you moron. Yo, you still got that laptop, bro? Anyways, now that we're done doing that, we gotta boost this up real quick. I'm gonna show y'all how to boost this. Stream your fucking broadcast too, so people can see it. do me a favor? I need a laptop for my job. I can pay you the $80 on Friday. Can I get it today though? If not, it's fine. Even if that nigga do a nigga a favor, damn, bro. Just one more week, bro. Fuck, how did I get that? That's not what I wanted to do. That's crazy, dude. I looked out for you and you really saw me like fucking phone, you really trash and but it's cool. I'm not too familiar with this. Actually, that's what I'm doing. Next time I pay for the weed, we might get something better. People want to be cheap. People want to be cheap. They want to be cheap. They don't want to help you when you help them, and then they want to insult you. Fuck out of here. I ain't helping nobody else. That shit just got me fucking tight. And thanks for insulting my weed after I gave it to you for free. Thanks for insulting my weed after I looked out for you. But it is what it is. I'll holler at you later. I'll holler at you later. extra for sure. Ain't nice of you to lie to me. I know it's not the best. It's only $20 worth of weed, bro. The gas here shit is more expensive. But next time I'll give you something fire. Crazy. Alright, one more, and then we fucking done doing this. Jesus Christ. This is how you, what you call it, you fill out. This is what I'm doing right now. You come here, you press this, and then you just keep buying a DJ until this white bar gets filled up. And then once this white bar gets filled up, you just stop doing that shit after. It's not hard. It's relatively simple. Woo, baby. I don't know if I want to be in this lobby. I'll tell you what. Let's go outside and see who's acting like a retard. And if everybody's cool, I'll be cool. Where the fuck is my shit at?
Hello, Chuck. Now, it's your old friend indeed here. Now, Carter music looks to be about 2 tempo shifts away from a serious wobbling. We need the big guns blown out here right away. My personal chakra stones. Can you make it happen?
I know they're gonna snake.
It's all good. That's what time it is.
You're a heartbreaker, but I know grudges where Dave is concerned. Speak soon.
Water, let's get to it. I'm ready. Alright, come.
Nothing like embezzlement to bring to the MAC. Why do they always embezzle from the charities? These banks they can steal from, and they take the donations from the hoods who banks for instead.
When I pulled up in this bitch, I'm fucking around and ducking in the click. Dumb niggas don't know what the fuck I said, so I got expectations. Ain't back like every shit, I keep on snapping in this bitch. Niggas already know what time it is. It's just shit like shit, I don't give no fucks, not bitch. I'm fucking rich as shit. Niggas already know which flow is fucking crazy, bitch. Keep on getting into the dope. Them niggas already know what time it is, bro. I'm nigga, get the money, everybody knows what time it is. When I get this bitch, I've been in this shit, I'll never stop this shit. I want some more, gotta get this dope. Every other damn break, oh, niggas saying no, it's so bro. I already know what's the flow. I'm gon' keep on blessing, that should be known till the day I get all this stuff. Niggas say we need to go, but I don't wanna go. Get this money every other way. One time it is, I'm the shit, bitch. I keep on snapping in this bitch, and I don't take no breaks. Nah, I'm the shit, bitch. Just that beat and gas, so give me higher than the best. Into it. I'm ready. Alright, come. When I pulled up in this bitch, I fuck around with that with the bitch. The place don't know what the fuck I said, so I got to spit that shit right back like yeah, this shit. I keep on snapping in this bitch. Niggas already know what time it is. This shit like shit. I don't give no fucks, I bitch. I'm fucking rich as shit. Niggas already know the show is fucking crazy, bitch. Keep on getting to the low. Them niggas already know what time it is. Bro, I'm out of the money, everybody knows what time it is. When I get this bitch, I want some more, gotta get this dope. Every other day I'm playing hope. Niggas ain't annoying, they fucking so broke. I already know the way to go. I'm gonna keep on letting that shit be. I'm gonna tell you that I did more than dope. Niggas say it's slow, but I gotta go. Get this money till we never pay. Bitch, I'm already know what time it is. I'm the shit, bitch. I take no seconds, bitch. And I don't take no breaks. I'm the shit, bitch.
How the fuck did he survive that? You're supposed to make money. What you mean I'm bad for you? You mean I'm right? All we need is each other. That's what you need. That's what you're good at. What you mean? You should take back the law. What you mean? I got what you wanna need. Baby girl, can't you see what you do? Tell me girl, I need you girl. I want your love, I need your love. Can't you see what I need? I know what you want. You need girl, it's all of me. Can't you see what you need? I got what you want to be. Baby girl, I'm only one for you, and you are the only one for me. Girl, don't you see, girl, don't you understand how much I need you? Baby girl, I don't wanna take no breaks from you. Girl, I want your love, can't you see how much I need you? Baby girl, I want your love, and what you mean? I'm bad for you, baby. Can't you understand the stuff that I got for you was good? I'll never change anything, baby. I want you back. I need you back, girl. Give me all that I can. Can't you see what you do? Girl, I want only you. Girl, I know what you want. Girl, I know what you need. What you mean? Bad for you. Girl, I know what you want. Baby, can't you see? Good for you. Girl, can't you see? I want you.
Anything else for the pain?